The great hall of the Valori Palace was filled with thousands of guests. They had come from every corner of the empire to witness the marriage of Princess Reva. But there was no joy in the air. There was only silence and shame. Reva stood at the altar in her silver wedding gown. Her pale blue skin glowed under the crystal lights. Her 4 eyes looked straight ahead, refusing to show any emotion. She was the youngest daughter of Emperor Varth, and today she was being given away like a piece of property. Her husband stood beside her. He was a human named June. Reva had never seen a human before today. She had heard stories about them. They were a young species from a small planet called Earth. They were weak, short-lived, and unremarkable. They had no natural weapons, no special abilities, and no great history. They were nothing compared to the mighty Valori. But the war had changed everything. For 15 years, the Valori Empire had fought against the Kirin Federation. Millions had died on both sides. Planets had burned. Fleets had been destroyed. And in the end, neither side had won. They had simply run out of soldiers to send to their deaths. The peace treaty required a symbol of unity, a marriage between the two powers. And June was the human chosen by the Kirin Federation to represent them. Reva wanted to scream. She wanted to run away. But she could not. Her father had made it clear. This marriage was her duty. The empire needed peace, and she was the price. The priest spoke the ancient words. June repeated them in a quiet voice. His pronunciation was not perfect, but he tried his best. Reva said her vows without feeling. When it was done, they were married. The crowd did not cheer. They simply watched in cold silence. After the ceremony, there was a feast. Reva sat at the head table with her new husband. She did not look at him. She did not speak to him. She only stared at her plate and wished she was somewhere else. June did not seem to mind. He ate his food slowly and looked around the hall with calm eyes. He was not tall or strong. His body was thin and his black hair was cut short. His face was plain, with no special features. He looked like the most ordinary person in the galaxy. Reva's older sister, Princess Kira, walked over to the table. She looked at June with disgust. "So this is the human," Kira said. "I expected something more impressive." June looked up at her. "I am sorry to disappoint you," he said. His voice was soft and polite. There was no anger in it. "No pride. Nothing." Kira laughed. "At least he knows his place," she said to Reva. "Perhaps he will make a good servant." Reva said nothing. She felt ashamed. Not because of Kira's words, but because she agreed with them. The feast ended late at night. Reva was taken to her new chambers. They were large and beautiful, with windows that looked out over the city. But they felt like a prison to her. June entered the room behind her. He looked around quietly and then turned to face her. "I know this is not what you wanted," he said. "I did not want this either. But we are here now. We must make the best of it." Reva finally looked at him. "Make the best of it?" She repeated. "I have been sold to a species that means nothing. My life is over." June did not react to her harsh words. "Your life is not over," he said. "It is just different now. What would you know about my life?" Reva asked. "You are just a human. You live for what? 80 years? 100? I will live for 500. I will spend centuries remembering this shame." June nodded slowly. "Then I hope the centuries will be kind to you," he said. He walked to the far side of the room and sat down on a small chair. He closed his eyes and leaned his head back against the wall. "Across the wall. What are you doing?" Reva asked. "Sleeping," June said. "You can have the bed. I will stay here." Reva stared at him. She had expected him to demand his rights as her husband. She had prepared herself for a fight, but he simply gave her space without being asked. Why? she asked. June opened one eye and looked at her. Because you are scared, he said. And I do not want you to be scared of me. He closed his eye again and said nothing more. Riva stood there for a long time, watching him. She did not understand this human. He was not what she had expected. He was not demanding or cruel. He was just quiet. She went to bed alone that night. She lay in the darkness and listened to the sound of June's breathing across the room. It was slow and steady, peaceful. But sometimes, in the deep hours of the night, she heard him make small sounds. Soft whispers. Words she could not understand. And once, she thought she heard him say a name. A woman's name. Spoken with such sadness that it made her heart ache. She did not know why she felt anything at all. In the morning, June was already awake. He had made tea using the small kitchen in their chambers. He offered her a cup without speaking. Riva took it. The tea was warm and had a sweet taste she did not recognize. "What is this?" she asked. "It is from Earth," June said. "My mother used to make it for me when I was young." It was the first personal thing he had ever told her. Riva did not know what to say. "It is good," she finally said. June smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible. But it was real. "Thank you," he said. They sat together in silence and drank their tea. Outside, the sun rose over the Valori capital. A new day had begun. Riva did not know what the future would bring. She did not know if she could ever accept this marriage. But for the first time since the wedding was announced, she felt something other than anger and shame. She felt curious. Who was this quiet human? What was he hiding behind those calm eyes? And why did the mention of his mother's tea make him look so sad? She did not have the answers yet. But she had time. 500 years of it. 3 months passed since the wedding. Riva and June settled into a quiet routine. They shared their chambers but lived separate lives. She attended her royal duties during the day. He spent his time reading in the palace library or walking in the gardens. They spoke little, but Riva found herself watching him more and more. June was strange. Not in an obvious way. He was always polite, always calm. He never raised his voice or showed anger. He treated everyone with the same quiet respect, from the emperor himself to the lowest servant. But there were things about him that did not make sense. The first thing Riva noticed was the nightmares. June slept on his chair every night, giving her the bed. But his sleep was never peaceful. He would twitch and mutter. Sometimes he would wake up suddenly, his body covered in sweat, his hands reaching for something that was not there. One night, Riva woke to the sound of him screaming. It was a short scream, cut off quickly. When she looked at him, he was sitting up in his chair, breathing hard. His eyes were wide and empty. "June?" she called. He did not answer for a long moment. Then he looked at her, and his face became calm again. "I am sorry," he said. "I did not mean to wake you. Go back to sleep. What were you dreaming about?" Riva asked. June was quiet. Then he said, "Nothing important." It was a lie. Riva could tell. But she did not push him. The second thing she noticed was his body. June always wore long sleeves and high collars. He never showed his skin. But one morning, Riva saw him changing his shirt. She only glimpsed him for a moment before he covered himself again. His body was covered in scars. Deep ones, old ones. Scars from blades and burns and things she could not name. There were so many that his skin looked like a map of pain. Riva said nothing about it. But she could not forget what she had seen. The third thing was how other people reacted to him. Most Valori ignored June or looked at him with disgust. He was just a human to them. A weak creature from a weak species. But sometimes, visitors from other worlds came to the palace. And some of them reacted very differently. One day, a delegation from the Kiran Federation arrived. They were a mixed group of different species: soldiers, diplomats, and traders. Riva was walking with June through the main hall when they passed the delegation. One of the soldiers, a tall creature with gray skin and 4 arms, stopped suddenly. He stared at June with wide eyes. Then he did something that shocked everyone watching. He bowed, not a small bow, a deep bow. The kind of bow that soldiers gave to their highest commanders. His head went almost to the ground. The other members of the delegation looked confused. But when they saw who the soldier was bowing to, some of them went pale. A few of them bowed too. June walked past them without stopping. His face showed nothing. Riva caught up to him. "What was that?" she asked. "I do not know," June said. Another lie. Riva was sure of it now. Her husband was hiding something. She started to investigate. She asked the palace servants about June. They knew nothing. She searched the library for information about him. She found nothing. It was like he did not exist before the wedding. Then she tried asking him directly. They were having dinner together in their chambers. June had cooked a simple meal using ingredients from Earth. He was a good cook, Riva had discovered. Much better than the palace chefs when it came to simple, comforting food. "Who are you?" Riva asked suddenly. June looked up from his plate. "I am your husband," he said. "That is not what I mean," Riva said. "Who were you before the wedding? What did you do? Why do soldiers bow to you? Why is your body covered in scars?" June set down his fork. He was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was soft. "I was a soldier once," he said. "Like many humans. I fought in the war." "Many people fought in the war," Riva said. "They do not get the reaction you got." June looked at her. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Something old and tired and very, very heavy. "I would like to leave the past where it belongs," he said. "In the past." "But the past follows you," Riva said. "I can see it in your nightmares. I can see it on your skin. I can see it in the way people look at you." June stood up from the table. He walked to the window and looked out at the city. The lights of the capital glittered in the darkness like a million stars. "Do you know why I agreed to this marriage?" he asked. Riva shook her head. "Because I wanted peace," June said. "Not peace for the galaxy. Peace for myself. I have seen enough war to last 1,000 lifetimes. I just wanted to live quietly, to read books, to grow a garden, to forget." He turned back to look at her. His face was sad. "But you are right," he said. "The past follows me. It always will. I cannot escape what I did. I can only try to be someone different now." "What did you do?" Riva asked. June smiled. It was not a happy smile. "I did my duty," he said. "And my duty cost me everything." He did not say anything more. He went back to his chair and closed his eyes. Riva sat alone at the table, her food forgotten. She had more questions now than before. But she also felt something new. Sympathy. Her husband was not hiding because he was weak. He was hiding because he was wounded. Not in his body, but in his soul. That night, Riva did something she had never done before. When June fell asleep in his chair, she got out of bed and covered him with a blanket. He stirred but did not wake. "I do not know who you are," she whispered. "But I think you have suffered enough." She went back to bed and lay awake for hours. Outside, the twin moons of Valori rose into the sky. Their light filled the room with silver shadows. Somewhere in the palace, a clock struck midnight. And in the darkness of the capital city, silent figures moved through the streets. They wore black clothes and carried hidden weapons. They had one target, Princess Riva. The assassins had come. The attack came without warning. Riva was sleeping when the first explosion shook the palace. She woke up to the sound of screaming and gunfire. Red lights flashed through the windows as alarms filled the air. She jumped out of bed. Her heart was racing. She did not know what was happening. Then she saw June. He was already on his feet. But he was different. The sleepy, quiet man she knew was gone. In his place stood someone else entirely. His eyes were sharp and focused. His body was still and ready. He moved to the door with a speed she had never seen from him before. "Stay here," he said. His voice was cold and commanding. It did not sound like a request. "What is happening?" Riva asked. "Someone is attacking the palace," June said. "They are coming this way. How do you know?" June did not answer. He pressed his ear against the door and listened. His face showed nothing, but his eyes were calculating, thinking, planning. "6 of them," he said quietly. "Maybe 7, professional, moving information." Riva stared at him. "How can you possibly know that?" June looked at her. For a moment, she saw something in his eyes that scared her. Something dark and ancient and very dangerous. "Because I know how soldiers move," he said. He scanned the room quickly. His eyes landed on a decorative sword hanging on the wall. It was an old Valori blade, meant only for display. But June walked over and took it down. He tested its weight and balance with practiced hands. "This will do," he said. The door exploded inward. Riva screamed and fell back against the wall. Smoke filled the room. Through the haze, she saw dark figures rushing inside. They wore black armor and carried plasma rifles. Their faces were hidden behind masks. The first assassin raised his weapon at Riva. June moved. She could not describe what she saw next. It was too fast, too violent. One moment, June was standing by the wall. The next moment, he was among the assassins, like a ghost. The first assassin died before he could fire. June's blade cut through his throat in a single motion. Blood sprayed across the room. The second assassin turned to shoot June, but June was already behind him. The blade went through his back and out his chest. The third and fourth assassins fired their weapons. Plasma bolts burned through the air. But June was not where they were shooting. He moved between the shots like water flowing through rocks. His body bent and twisted in ways that seemed impossible. 2 more cuts. 2 more bodies fell. The fifth assassin tried to run. June threw the sword. It spun through the air and buried itself in the assassin's spine. He collapsed in the doorway. The sixth assassin grabbed Riva. He held a knife to her throat and used her as a shield. "Stay back," he shouted at June. "I will kill her." June stopped. He stood in the center of the room, surrounded by dead bodies. His clothes were stained with blood. His breathing was calm and steady. He looked at the assassin with eyes that held no fear. "You have 3 seconds to release her," June said. "I will cut her throat." The assassin screamed. 2 seconds. "I mean it." 1 second. The assassin pressed the knife harder against Riva's neck. She felt the blade bite into her skin. Blood trickled down her throat. June moved. Riva did not see him do it. She only felt the assassin's grip suddenly disappear. She heard a wet crunch. Then she was standing alone, and the assassin was on the ground with his neck twisted at an impossible angle. It was over. 6 assassins dead. The whole fight had lasted less than 30 seconds. June walked over to her. His face was still cold and empty. But when he looked at her wound, something flickered in his eyes. Concern. "You are hurt," he said. Riva touched her throat. The cut was shallow. It would heal. "I am fine," she said. Her voice was shaking. "Who? What are you?" Before June could answer, more footsteps echoed in the hallway. Palace guards rushed into the room with their weapons drawn. They stopped when they saw the bodies. They stopped when they saw June standing among them. Captain Vorn, the head of the royal guard, pushed through his soldiers. He was a massive Valori with silver scales and 6 eyes. He had served the emperor for over a century. He had seen many battles, but when he looked at June, his face went pale. "It cannot be," he whispered. "Captain," Rava said, "what is happening? Who sent these assassins?" Vorn did not answer her. He was still staring at June. His hands were trembling. "The Reaper," he said. "The Reaper of Kiran. He is here, in our palace." June closed his eyes. He let out a long, tired breath. "That name means nothing anymore," he said. "What name?" Riva demanded. "What is he talking about? What is the Reaper of Kiran?" Vorn turned to her. His face was filled with fear and awe. "During the war," he said, "there was a human soldier. A single soldier. He killed thousands of our warriors. He destroyed entire battalions alone. He appeared from nowhere and vanished like a ghost. Our soldiers called him the Reaper because wherever he went, death followed. The Kiran Federation called him something else." "What did they call him?" Riva asked. Vorn swallowed hard. "They called him the God of War." Riva turned to look at her husband. He stood among the bodies of the assassins, covered in their blood. His face was tired and sad. He looked nothing like a god. He looked like a man who carried the weight of 1,000 deaths on his shoulders. "Is it true?" she asked. "Are you the Reaper?" June opened his eyes. He looked at her with an expression she could not read. "I was," he said. "Once, a long time ago." The palace alarms continued to wail. Soldiers rushed through the halls. But in that room, surrounded by death, there was only silence. Riva had wanted to know who her husband really was. Now she knew, and she did not know what to feel. The palace was in chaos. Guards searched every room. Officers shouted orders. Servants ran through the halls with fear in their eyes. But Riva paid no attention to any of it. She stood in the royal council chamber with her father, Emperor Varath, and the senior members of the court. Captain Vorn had just finished his report. The room was silent. Emperor Varath was an ancient Valori. His scales had turned white with age, and his 4 eyes were clouded. But his mind was still sharp, and his voice was still strong. "You are telling me," he said slowly, "that the human we married to my daughter is the Reaper of Kiran?" "Yes, Your Majesty," Vorn said. "I am certain of it. I saw him fight tonight. I saw his movements. There is no mistake." "The man who killed 10,000 Valori soldiers?" the Emperor asked. "The man who destroyed the Third Fleet at Kiran Prime? The man who ended the siege of Vara 7 in a single night?" "Yes, Your Majesty. All of those things." The council members looked at each other with shock and anger. Some of them had lost family in the war. Some of them had fought against the Reaper themselves. They had nightmares about him. And now he was living in their palace. Princess Kira stepped forward. Her face was twisted with rage. "This is a trick," she shouted. "The Kiran Federation sent their most dangerous weapon into our home. They disguised him as a weak nobody so we would not suspect. We must kill him immediately." "Silence," Emperor Varath said. Kira stopped. No one argued with the Emperor. Varath turned to Riva. "You have lived with this man for 3 months," he said. "Did you know?" Riva shook her head. "No, father. He never told me. What do you know about him?" Riva thought about the quiet man who made her tea. The man who slept in a chair so she could have the bed. The man who covered his scars and woke from nightmares with names of the dead on his lips. "He is tired," she said. "He is sad. He does not want to be a soldier anymore. He just wants peace." "Peace?" Kira laughed bitterly. "A monster like that does not deserve peace. He should be executed for his crimes." "What crimes?" a new voice asked. Everyone turned. June stood in the doorway of the council chamber. He had changed his clothes and cleaned the blood from his face. Two guards stood behind him, their weapons pointed at his back. "Let him in," Emperor Vorth commanded. The guards stepped aside. June walked into the chamber. He moved slowly and calmly, as if he were taking a stroll through a garden. He stopped in the center of the room and bowed to the Emperor. "Your Majesty," he said. "You have caused quite a problem," Vorth said. "My council wants your head." "I understand," June said. "Do you deny that you are the Reaper of Kirin?" June was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "No, I am the Reaper. I was the Reaper. I did the things they say I did." The council erupted in angry shouts. Kira demanded his execution again. Others called for torture, for imprisonment, for revenge. June stood still and let them shout. His face showed nothing. Emperor Vorth raised his hand. The room went silent. "I have a question for you, human," he said. "During the war, you could have killed me. You broke through our defenses many times. You could have ended our empire. Why did you not?" June looked at the Emperor with his calm, dark eyes. "Because killing you would not have ended the war," he said. "It would have made it worse. Your people would have fought until every last one of them was dead. I did not want that." "You killed thousands of us," Kira said. "How can you say you did not want death?" June turned to her. His voice was soft but heavy with pain. "Every life I took haunts me," he said. "I remember every face, every scream, every drop of blood. I did not enjoy what I did. I did what I thought was necessary to end the war faster, to save more lives on both sides." "A noble story," Kira sneered. "But you expect us to believe you?" "I expect nothing," June said. "I know what I am. I know what I have done. I did not ask for forgiveness. I only asked for peace. That is why I agreed to this marriage. I thought if I could help create lasting peace between our peoples, maybe the deaths I caused would mean something." The room was silent. Even Kira had no response. Emperor Vorth studied June for a long time. His ancient eyes were thoughtful. "Tonight you saved my daughter's life," he said. "You could have let the assassins kill her. You could have escaped in the chaos. Instead, you protected her." "She is my wife," June said simply. "It was my duty." "Duty," the Emperor repeated. "You speak of duty often." "It is all I have left," June said. The Emperor stood from his throne. He walked down the steps until he stood face to face with June. They were different heights, different species, different worlds. But in that moment, they were just two old soldiers who understood each other. "I lost my eldest son in the war," Vorth said. "He died at the Battle of Kiran Prime. I was told the Reaper killed him personally." June did not look away. "Prince Chorus," he said. "He fought bravely. He almost killed me twice. I gave him a warrior's death. Quick and clean. It was the only honor I could offer him." A tear rolled down the Emperor's aged face. "You remember his name," Vorth whispered. "I remember all their names," June said. "Every single one." The Emperor turned and walked back to his throne. He sat down heavily, as if the weight of years had suddenly become too much. "The human will not be executed," he announced. "He saved the princess. He has committed no crime since entering our empire. And the war is over. It is time to let old wounds heal." Kira started to protest, but Vara silenced her with a look. "However," the Emperor continued, "I want the truth made public. The people deserve to know who is living among them. Let them decide how they feel about the Reaper." June bowed. "As you wish, Your Majesty." The council meeting ended. The members left slowly, throwing dark looks at June as they passed. Soon, only June and Riva remained in the chamber. They stood in silence for a long moment. "You remember my brother's name," Reva said finally. "I never knew him. He died before I was born. He was a good warrior," June said. "He deserved better than war." Reva walked toward her husband. She stopped an arm's length away and looked into his eyes. She saw the weight he carried, the guilt, the endless, crushing burden of thousands of deaths. "How do you live with it?" she asked. June smiled sadly. "Some days," he said, "I do not." It was the most honest thing he had ever told her. The news spread across the empire like fire. The human prince was the Reaper of Karan. The most feared soldier of the war was living in the palace. He was married to Princess Reva. People reacted differently. Some demanded his death. Some called him a monster. But others, especially those who had fought in the war, spoke quietly of respect. They knew what he had done. They also knew that he had ended the fighting. Without him, the war might have lasted another 50 years. Reva watched it all from her window. A week had passed since the assassination attempt. The investigation revealed that the attackers were hired by a group of Valori nobles who opposed the peace treaty. They wanted to kill Reva and blame the Kirin Federation. They wanted to restart the war. Captain Vorn had arrested them all. They would face trial for treason. But Reva could not stop thinking about June. He had returned to his quiet routine. Reading in the library, walking in the gardens, making tea in the mornings. He acted as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. The servants looked at him differently now. Some avoided him with fear. Others bowed when he passed. The guards watched him constantly, unsure if he was a threat or a protector. June noticed none of it. Or perhaps he simply did not care. One evening, Reva found him in the palace garden. He was sitting by a small pond, watching the fish swim in lazy circles. The twin moons hung in the sky, casting silver light over everything. She sat down beside him without speaking. They stayed like that for a long time. Just two people watching the fish. "I spoke to some of the veterans," Reva said finally. "The ones who fought against you in the war." June did not respond. "They told me stories," she continued. "They said you never killed anyone who surrendered. You never harmed civilians. You never tortured prisoners. They said you followed rules that even our own soldiers did not follow." "War has no rules," June said quietly. "But I tried to keep some anyway." "Why?" June thought about it. "Because if I gave up my humanity, what was I fighting for? I killed because I had to. But I tried to hold on to something good inside myself. Something that said I was still a person, not just a weapon." Reva looked at him. In the moonlight, he looked older than his years. His face was lined with invisible scars. His eyes held memories that would break most people. "Did you keep it?" she asked. "That good thing inside you?" June smiled sadly. "I do not know. Some days I think I did. Other days I think I lost it long ago, and I am just pretending now." "I do not think you are pretending," Reva said. June looked at her. His eyes were surprised. "You saved my life," Reva said. "You did not have to. You could have let me die and been free of this marriage. But you protected me. You fought for me. Why? I told you before. You are my wife. It was my duty." "No," Reva said. "It was more than duty. I saw your face when you looked at my wound. You were worried about me. You cared." June was quiet for a long moment. "I have lost many people in my life," he said finally. "Friends, family, people I loved. Every time I lose someone, a part of me dies with them. I did not want to lose anyone else. Not even a stranger who was forced to marry me." Reva felt something warm spread through her chest. "I do not think I am a stranger anymore," she said. She reached out and took his hand. His skin was rough with calluses and scars, but his grip was gentle. I used to hate this marriage, Reva said. I thought it was a punishment. I thought you were nothing. I was wrong. You were not wrong to hate it, June said. You did not choose it. No, I did not. But I am choosing now. She squeezed his hand. I choose to stay. I choose to know you. I choose to understand you. Not because of duty, because I want to. June stared at her. For the first time since she had known him, she saw something in his eyes that was not sadness or pain. It was hope. You do not fear me? He asked. I have seen what you can do, Reva said. I have seen the bodies you leave behind. And yes, part of me is scared. But I am more scared of living with a stranger for the rest of my life. I want to know the real you. The good and the bad. All of it. June turned to face her fully. The moonlight played across his features. The real me is broken, he said. I have nightmares every night. I cannot sleep without seeing the faces of the dead. I do not know if I will ever be whole again. Then, let me help you carry the pieces, Reva said. A tear rolled down June's cheek. He wiped it away quickly, as if ashamed. I do not deserve kindness, he whispered. Maybe not, Reva said. But I am giving it anyway. She leaned forward and kissed his forehead gently. It was not a romantic kiss. It was something deeper. A promise. A beginning. When she pulled back, June was looking at her with wonder. What happens now? He asked. Now we start over, Reva said. No more secrets. No more walls. We talk to each other. We learn about each other. We build something real. And if I fail? If the darkness inside me becomes too much? Reva smiled. It was the first real smile she had given him since the wedding. Then I will be there to pull you back into the light, she said. That is what partners do. June squeezed her hand. His eyes were wet, but his face was peaceful. I never thought I would find peace, he said. I thought the war took that from me forever. The war took many things, Reva said. But it brought you here. It brought you to me. Maybe that means something. They sat together by the pond, hand in hand, watching the fish swim under the light of the twin moons. The night was quiet. The palace was calm, somewhere in the galaxy. Old wounds were starting to heal. And in the small garden on Valori Prime, a princess and a god of war began to build something new. Not a marriage of duty, a partnership of choice. It was. Perhaps the greatest victory June had ever won, and he had not had to fight for it at all.